All right, Riley, let's get this one started once again. Our last series was a heater, but this stage is about to cool off because we got two teams coming from the north. And this first squad looking to go plus ultra. Here comes Toronto.
Pay me in respect, cause once I do it big, what's to follow is a check. I need 100 bags, nothing more, nothing less. And the ops feel away, cause I'm next, I'm a threat. Oh yeah, really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger, I'm a threat. It's a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's a bet. Gotta run up the next, point to the sky with the run up, I'm blessed. I'm young, rich and black, so you know I'm a threat.
Riley, make some noise for the Toronto Ultra. Give it up for Scrap, Insight, Kleenex, and Standy, the Toronto Ultra.
A team looking for revenge. Toronto Ultra fell short to Minnesota Røkkr earlier in the season. Two rosters seeming to have swapped players now here on LAN, a new meta, and now they aren't playing online and they are on fire. Toronto Ultra need to get through the Minnesota Røkkr. Blaze, bring them on out.
Yeah, it's time to bring them out. Our second team from the north looking to play for one for all. Here comes Minnesota. Raleigh, get loud! Here comes the Minnesota Røkkr. Give it for Attach, Afro, Bance, and Cammy, the Minnesota Røkkr.
And expecting some boos when they came up, but didn't get them. The new villains of the CDL in Minnesota Røkkr are here to try and do what they managed online. No M4 this time, but they will be happy going in against Ultra. A little bit of a shaky start, but they want to bounce back with a huge win against the quote-unquote favorites here in Raleigh. Blaze, take this one away. It should be a banger.
Yeah, I thought they would get some boos, but they might be the fan favorites. We gotta find out. It's time to get this series underway. Lando, Study, take it away.
Thank you so much, Blaze. I tell you what, man, I am hyped for this matchup, the Battle of the North. Bit of a revenge game as well, Jay. This is going to be a blast.
Oh, baby, I cannot wait for this rematch to happen. We saw it happen in the Major 1 qualifiers week 1. That was the M4 meta. Standy wasn't really the same player. Right. Ever since that TAC 56 goes into a bunch of these AR players' hands, you've seen what Standy's been able to do. So far at this event, 1.27 for Scrap. He's like an MVP caliber player in his first rookie year. And then Standy's right behind him with a 1.25. That dynamic duo is not to be messed with.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, right? This is a revenge game, as you called it. We saw this matchup take place at the Major 1 qualifiers, but new guns, new meta, a new environment, and who knows, maybe even a new result. But when we talk about new, that's also something we got to talk about with all of these players. You got Standy, previously on the Minnesota Røkkr. He comes in, now a part of the Toronto Ultra. The closest few players on your screen there for a moment, and Bance and Cammy. Previously a part of Toronto, now on Minnesota. It's gotta feel weird as a player knowing that you're on the main stage, you're gearing up, but you're looking at some fellow teammates off to the side.
Yeah, this is a 2-2 split, obviously from the Ultra roster last year. Standy was on that Minnesota Røkkr last year. Wasn't really the best performances all of last year, but then he gets that change. Now this whole young team with Toronto Ultra are very young. They're very confident. We saw what they've been able to do of a verse sweep so far on Polodrome. And then the 3-0 versus OpTic. oh man, they needed a wake-up call, and I think that reverse sweep is what set it off. To go out there and win the way they did versus OpTic Texas, that was pure dominance. And I'm expecting nothing less, because I think that Toronto Ultra right now are the most complete team, but here we go. Map number 1, Hotel.
And we look through the eyes of the rookie in Scrappy. I want to say first match on the main stage. This is where you prove it. You prove it for your team. You prove it in the rivalry as we fly in for Hotel. Røkkr spawning on the more preferred side, at least for P1, but it's Toronto cleaning house ever since.
Oh, and CleanX, he was able to find 3 right off the rip. With a couple more bullets right there, he's able to potentially pick up that ace to start off the game. Toronto Ultra did not spawn on the better side, but they're getting a good amount of time off of this P1. They're more focused on this rotation, so Afro and Attach are able to get 2. They should be able to get the remaining 20 seconds of time, and just pay attention to your mini-map. Afro already slips through towards the back of that P2. Now you have to worry about him if you are inside.
Really, that's going to be a player that you have to worry about here. Toronto Ultra throughout the entirety of this series, buddy. As Scrappy does a great job at least to try to find a few kills inside of the point. Meanwhile, it is his AR duo in Insight. Trying to lock down spawns, able to find one onto Attach. Meanwhile, CleanX doing a great job on the other side as well. Insight doing what he needs to, but here come Minnesota, not checking their side. It's so weird to see Insight firing away at Cammy, but it is gonna be Minnesota with a clean 4 down.
And Afro was the only player who didn't drop in that scenario. He stays alive. Big gunfight from Cammy to win that gunfight onto Insight. Now they are in control of the spawns. Final 35 seconds. Insight with a great shot. That's going to be 3 dead. They're still in the back. If you are going to be Minnesota Røkkr, but now with that final kill, Toronto Ultra with this final 30 are going to be able to take the lead right on back. But now this allows Minnesota to get fully set up for this kitchen hill.
Yeah, so what we talked about, prior titles, Vanguard to MW2, a totally different scenario in terms of really what you want to do on the map. Final 20 seconds? No, we're not hitting scrap. In fact, we're rotating even earlier than that. As we'll see the rotations now being bound here for Røkkr. They get broken late, and now it's time to set up over at the kitchen. One of the better hills here when we talk about Hotel Hardpoint. See how Røkkr bend to lock it down, and more specifically how Toronto bend to try to break this. CleanX bruised and battered toward the front. Thankfully, he does have Scrappy just behind him. Attach starts things off with a pick for Røkkr. And Scrappy and Standing, well, it's that dynamic duo causing problems already.
And now there's only 2 more players from Minnesota in this position. Unfortunately, Scrap does find a team kill on the CleanX. You're not going to be able to win that trade gunfight. You're taking on your own squad, but now it's all left up to Insight. He picks up 2. Unfortunately, the trade is going to be in. So Minnesota holds strong on the first push. And that's Attack 56. Attach, you saw what he did last series. 1.5. He's not trying to slow down now.
Final 2 seconds, still fighting for scraps. Meanwhile, it is the rotation. It appears that a few Toronto players still trying to go for this. It is a neck-and-neck game. Toronto angry that they weren't able to break it previously. Well, hey, they eventually do manage to jump on in toward the kitchen, grab those final 10. Well, we are over and headed now to the bar. Basically what we expected, buddy. I know we're only a few hills in, but it couldn't get much closer than this.
Yeah, it's a back-and-forth game to start us off. Couple rotation gunfights are going to go in favor of Toronto, and I thought Minnesota put themselves in a great position off that rotation. You have the back spawns, but Toronto just fly on through the front side. Now the first 10 is going to be uncontested. Scrap with another team kill on the CleanX. Does he not like his teammate? What's going on? But that's going to be 3 dead in the feed. Now the spawns do flip. Minnesota have to break the front.
And we'll see what Cammy can try to do. Again, just so many of those purple arrows to try to face off against, and he eventually does get dropped. It looks like a clean hold right now from the Ultra. And yeah, it's just so hard to break into that, James. You got a few players hanging out on those head glitches. The Vaznevs have come out to play. The only thing that can really eventually take them down is going to be the trophy. But a solid hold there for Ultra as now they find themselves up big going into next.
Oh, and Ultra can start to pull away with this game because they do have a couple players already off the rotation towards Diner. Insight with attack 56. He's going to get help from Standy watching carpets. Unfortunately, he is not watching the connector. So he's going to at least lose that initial gunfight. Afro trying to cause problems through mid carpets. He's able to find 2. Cammy with the 3rd. All left up to Insight, and another team kill for Toronto is now going to allow Minnesota to get fully set up.
You have to wonder a little bit if some of those jitters are starting to get involved here for this Ultra team. I know that they do find themselves up big, but those few team kills mean absolutely everything here in MW2 for how valuable that your life now is. It is giving Røkkr a bit of a foothold in this game.
Now the final 30. Trades going back and forth, but Minnesota are still able to come out on top. Big 25. They're in control of spawns going into the next hill, which is going to be towards top plat. You have one player in Standy trying to be the route man. works his way through bottom middle couches. They're still going to put a lot of pressure on. They do not want to give this remaining jump time. 2v2. Now left up all to Afro, and he's having himself one hell of a map. 14 and 8. Start us off on a 3-spree. Finds another one on the inside.
And you see him, man, he's getting involved. He's getting hyped in the camera feed as well. That is, without a doubt, Røkkr, the player that you're looking out for. If you're a fan of this team, you are hoping that he has a pop-off kind of series. And one thing to add to this, Jay, as we head toward P5, there was some drama during the offseason. It was rumored that Afro might actually be going to the Toronto Ultra. In fact, he finds himself on Minnesota instead. So just one of the many layers of a very interesting battle, a very interesting rivalry between both of these franchises. Cammy's hit beams from afar, and it has been all sunny skies so far for Minnesota here at the parking lot attached. Well, he's just hanging out, waiting for any bit of negativity, of any bit of pressure to start to come through. A little bit of that starts to come in, but Standy eventually does fall. Røkkr clean house at the end of the day. As Cammy starting to hit some shots with attacking range.
That was a beautiful hole right there for Minnesota to give themselves a nice little comfortable lead. Now, if you're thinking big picture, you want to control the spawns for the P2 side. That's why you see Bance pushing out towards Jules. Early sitting at 8 and 16, but he's the playmaker for this squad. Unfortunately, loses that gunfight to Scrap, but just can't allow Toronto to get back into this game off of a lot of P1 time. The spawns are going to flip once again. And now if you're Ultra, you're just trying to keep them off.
Yeah, if you're Ultra, just play this one carefully. The first 20 seconds are already done and dusted. Make sure you don't give anything away for free. Røkkr with the advantage in terms of the score, but Toronto with the map positioning. Standy trying to have his own impact as he has been really the guy alongside of Scrappy. So far for Toronto, a big position where he's going to have a few players to deal with here, Jay.
Yeah, Standy's in a strong position. He's the one that's holding down the right push. So his teammates are still going to be spawning over to the left. So this remaining 15 seconds is going to go in favor of Minnesota. Now it's all going to be on Standy. Can he hold down this position, shut down the pinch coming in? Big first gunfight goes to Bance, and that's going to be careful because now Standy might be able to spawn all the way at bedroom.
And you can see exactly what that does. You can see what that does. They lose a member, and then it puts Scrappy in a more difficult spot. Minnesota, patient as ever. There goes the third member in a row. And it's on to Standy again. Thankfully, he gets that close spot, but he gets dropped too. Røkkr clean and comfortable, rushing right in toward the lobby.
What a beautiful break from Minnesota. 35 seconds still here. They can get this remaining time. That can do wonders to how you turn out the rest of this game. And that's going to be Toronto finding every single kill in the feed. They flipped the spawns, and now with the final 25, they get all of this. They will be able to take the lead right on back, and now it's just another rotation battle over towards Kitchen. Minnesota have to do better in their setups because we saw the way that Toronto were able to break it from the last time. One player pushed all the way around Plat. They slow played it from the front between Standy and Scrap. They won initial gunfights. Eventually walk away with the initial time. Very, very close hard point to start us.
It's like we're talking about one team, you know, they allowed for the other to break. It's basically the exact same thing on the other side. And there we have it, another lead change. Minnesota, a slim advantage, but one nonetheless. As it's all about the battle inside of the kitchen, and Scrappy comes out on top. It really is the Toronto Bash Brothers coming to play. Standy and Scrap sporting some of the best KDs so far here in Major 1, and they come through right when Toronto needs them. A great little advantage starting to brew now. As Afro clean and comfortable, that strategy does work out, at least for a moment. Toronto there to make them pay. It was Standy and Scrappy to start it off, and it's CleanX and Insight to seal the deal.
And let me tell you, if CleanX is having himself a game number one, 24 and 19, usually when you're talking about CleanX, this is a guy who's just always going to do the dirty work. He's going to be the guy that's the aggressor, flies in first, always tries to get that time when he needs to. When he's playing like this Ultra squad is going to be complete. Now currently up by almost 40 points. You have to get back into this game with a great hold on desk. You have somewhat control of bedroom with as Bance is currently sitting towards bottom. Push is going to be in towards the back. A big gunfight coming from Standy. But Cammy at least finds two to relieve some of that pressure.
Yeah, well, they're able to break through a little bit in the back, cause some pressure, and from there, Toronto, they do the rest of the job. Great coordination again from this newly formed Ultra roster. Now within just 20 seconds of closing this game out.
You have to break from the front. You have to go if you're Minnesota because they're getting closer and closer towards the finish line. They're ready. They're ironed up. That's a clean 4 dead. I don't think anyone's gonna have an opportunity to even touch the hill.
And they call for Kleenex. Full green light, buddy. Get going. Cause some problems in the break, and there you go. Scrappy getting loud already on the main stage. All a Dash can do is smile and focus up, get ready for the S&D. As Senor Scrappy and Toronto Ultra strike first.
And this is Scrap's first game on main stage, right? It's his first game.
That's
the
right.
lights are the brightest, and he's still talking smack. I love this young man. What a performance from Toronto Ultra in map number 1. But if you're Minnesota, you haven't been able to win an opening hard point versus anyone in quite some time. So you always have to respond in that search and destroy. But to touch on this map 1 a little bit more, I thought the change in the game was that P2. We saw Minnesota Røkkr. They started off on the better side for that P1. They were able to take a comfortable lead going into the first rotation. Then they find the break. Ultra respond with a great hold at Kitchen. And then the second rotation, Ultra, they find themselves at that P2, but Minnesota are able to get a clean 4 dead. Ultra breaking with about 20 seconds left. And then I thought Minnesota were going to be set up beautifully for Kitchen. But when you allow the break to come in the first 15 seconds, and then you cannot break that hill, we know how much of a money hill that P3 can be. That's where Ultra were able to pull away with this game, eventually take map number 1.
Yeah, I mean, as you called it, I mean, it was a neck-and-neck game. It just comes down to a few situations. And I know we oftentimes in Hardpoint lately aren't always discussing, you know, the slaying element or really the slaying talent. But right there, I feel like it showcased itself. Like you had a little bit of a slower game from Standy. Kleenex steps up. You talked about the Kitchen rotation, how Toronto were able to break that. I mean, just numerous different moments where it felt like Minnesota was in a good spot, and then Toronto were able to break late, and it's ultimately just flawless gameplay toward the stretch. They gain control over Bar, and they don't let it go. Scrappy getting loud already, talking to the ears of the Røkkr boys. This is set up to be a phenomenal, phenomenal series, my friend.
And when you talk about this Toronto Ultra squad, like right now, when I look at this team, I feel like they're the most complete team that we currently have in the CDL.
Yeah?
And that's insane to say, because if you think about the old Toronto roster, everything was all about teamwork. These guys have been teammates for now 3 weeks. We're only the 3rd week into the CDL, and it's looking like their teamwork is on point. Communication has to be on point. Everyone is calm, cool, and collected. I just really love this Ultra squad.
And I think we might have to cater that too to the early victories that this team saw, right?
Yeah.
They lose to Minnesota Røkkr, yet to lose a series since that game that kicked off their Major 1 qualifier. From that point, right, they've had some big moments. They've taken down Atlanta FaZe. I mean, heck, they took down OpTic Texas 3-0 yesterday. I mean, how crucial is it to have those big moments early on as a new team?
Especially as young players. Like, first time into the CDL for Scrap. Obviously, the guy, he was bred for this moment. He was ready to make his appearance and be a pro player. So he has no nerves in his system. Before this Toronto Ultra squad, when you win those big matches, this just does confidence for your team. You're obviously doing something right. When you're taking down Atlanta FaZe in a 2-3-5, the 2 hardpoints that they lost was about a 20-point difference, a really close hardpoint. When you talk about their overall record in hardpoint, it's 5-6, but they're losing these hardpoints by a margin of 60 points maximum.
Sure.
They're never getting blown out. So that's what makes this team so damn scary, because right now they're 60-40, at least in my opinion, in hard point. Their S&D is on point, and their control is one of the best in the game. They only have 2 losses in Search and Destroy. One comes to Minnesota at the very first match of the season for these squads, all the way in the 6-4, and then the second one comes to Poyodrome yesterday, before they had to complete that reverse sweep.
That's
so
right.
This S&D is going to be so massive for both of these squads. Obviously, a little bit more important for Minnesota.
Sure.
When you always talk about this Minnesota team, that 2-3-5 is how they usually come about, especially when they are always starting series down 0-1.
Well, that was the story for Toronto last season when they had half of the Minnesota roster on their team last year. It was all about the search destroys. That is really what made that Toronto 4 infamous. It was the reason why they were so good in that Cold War title, but just fell short to Atlanta FaZe. It all came at the hands of search and destroy. And that's really the most fun part, I think, about this entire series, Jay. Might be these upcoming search and destroys. We'll see if we can get 2 of them, but we've got to at least settle for game 2 here on aBeZy. What can you tell me about this map? What can you tell us about both of our teams on this map so far throughout the season?
Well, both of these squads have only been able to play this map twice. They both have a record at 1-1. But just more big picture stats in search and destroy. Minnesota, when they find success in S&D, it's usually on the back of that first blood. 58% win rate when they get that first blood. put themselves in that man advantage, but it's not going to be easy because they're going up against Toronto Ultra, who are great in 3v4 situations. So, Minnesota Røkkr, this is where they need to respond, and they're going to be the team on attack.
Yep, let's see what they can do here off the start. Meanwhile, it is good old JB Craven, aka Insight, one of the more fun snipers to watch in the league. Now put in a position, well, to succeed. An unfortunate hit marker is not going to even out the man count that much more, but there you have it. A nice little nade over the top. Methodz never saw it coming. 3v3, and Bance really puts the numbers toward the favor of Minnesota once more.
So now Røkkr in the 3v2 situation, trying to make sure no players from Ultra are going to be sitting inside that A site. Now Afro is sitting alongside him. Close that door. Don't want to get any bad timings. It's going to be on Standy, who's slowly trying to work his way up through the middle alley. Trying to get the timing onto where these players are going to be playing. 30 seconds, 35 seconds to work.
Working in tandem together. 30 seconds left. Standing, tosses out a nade. Says a prayer. Hunting, searching, eager for information. And right now, that's currency. Afro, great little angle, cuts down one. It is all on to Insight. He started off the round with a kill, and now he's going to have to end it off with 3. And best of luck, Minnesota hold true. They hold strong. And really, a lot of that came off of the first blood.
Yeah, the first blood comes in, but Insight responds immediately. I think the second kill that Bance was able to get as Clean is trying to push him towards top flat. Try to get better positioning in top money. Once you take him down, you use your tax to open up that A site. You get the bomb down. Play your corners tight. Play for the trades. The Minnesota Røkkr take round 1.
Big round when we talk about momentum, again, coming off of that hardpoint loss. You can see the wheels are turning for everybody. That's the biggest thing about this Røkkr team too, man, is that you can really have all 4 players call out strats. All 4 players very confident when it comes down to the comms. Scrappy, well, he was part of the first blood engagement last time. In fact, it was a death. This time, it's a kill for him. And still open things up there versus Standy. Cammy, down on his belly, and you see the kill feed line up perfectly for Røkkr once more. Another quick 1v3 for Insight. Normally we'd be waving the white flag, but this is one of the clutchest players in the league in situations like this. Job done for the first, 2 more to go.
He has the stun to work with. That silence is about to be earned. As the bomb is going to be down towards bottom mid. So he's just going to take his time. Grab all the way back, try to catch a timing. Right now, the way that Minnesota are playing, the buddy system. It's going to be difficult to win both of these gunfights as they're both preparing for it.
And dead silence is going to be essential. That's exactly what he waits for, and now's the time to strike. You can hear everything inside of the warehouse. Now brings it to a 1v1. Cammy versus Insight. Oh, prior teammates, but Cammy able to stay alive and clutch it out in the 1v1. That's what we talk about, man. Insight, one of the clutchest players in the league. You can never doubt him. And he really made Cammy work for that too. Brought very low. Røkkr dodge a bullet.
Yeah, right there. Cammy just makes the play in that round, pushes up through courtyard, flanks through bottom double doors, finds that first kill, and then the second read onto the second player while laying down. That was a beautiful play by him. Turned it into a 3v1, and then Insight is a little bit hurt in that final engagement. Cammy's just able to challenge with that fast and up close. Able to close it out. Minnesota up 2-0, and Cammy with that SMG, he's like a speed demon right now.
See what we can do. Oh, he's feeling all kinds of confidence. That FaZe, man, it's hit. We're hearing all kinds of players talk about. All right, well, the M4's gone. It's an SMG's world already. See what he can do with it. Put it to good use. Meanwhile, on the other side, Standy and co. Holding firm. Quick engagement. Cammy having to put that FaZe to use. However, it's KiSMET on the other side, who ends up dropping him to start. So offensive team loses a man off the rip. And you've got a nice little straggler in KiSMET trying to make a play toward the back. Attach is aware of it.
That silence is going to now run out for KiSMET and Standy. But KiSMET is able to find the second. Now in a 4v2. All left up to Attach and Bance. Bance is at least able to take down one. Attach is just trying to pick one off, knowing that multiple players from Ultra are roaming around his spawn. Standy still has not moved from top money. Bance is that bomb carry. He might be able to rotate this over towards
Hello.
Insight spots him. Insight spots him, makes it a 3v1. All left up to Attach, and he popped the Deddy.
And and there's a lot to do if you are Dylan Price.
Oh my.
Puts in some good shots, but at the end of the day, not gonna happen. A nice little smile there out of the Great Dane. And for good reason, Toronto just grabbed their first round.
Great plays from KiSMET. I'm pretty sure he finds 3 on the round. Works his way up this alley. Challenges towards the top base, takes down Cammy. Then once that dead silence runs out, he also takes down Afro. Great patience right there from Ultra to finally get one on the board.
And that's just really one of the many strengths that this Toronto Ultra team has. Like, you got Standy, who can be a menace. I mean, we even know the numbers that he was able to put up with Bomb in his hand last season. You got to worry about KiSMET up close, constantly in your face. Insight with the snipe. Scrappy in general is just a problem on every single game mode, it feels like. A lot of weapons, a lot of tools in the shed. If you are the Toronto Ultra, as Minnesota have to give away their first. And Insight is back out with the sniper. He and Cammy got to be aware of each other's play styles, given their long tenure together. He's got the pistol out, stuns there, and great work from Insight. Pulls out the pistol and makes it work. Very close gunfight, but a nice little one to win. Cammy gets aggressive, and Insight's there to make him pay. Toronto with numbers, 45 seconds still to work with.
Bance finds 1, makes it a 3v3. So now it's 40 seconds left. What do Toronto try to do? It's looking like Insight's gonna try to take control of top radio tower. Still thinks that attaches into positioning on those towards the steps. Standy does invest that dead silence. Slowly gonna push up towards the middle alley. Cracks being watched from Bance, but he's gonna make the door. Standy finds that kill. So now that bomb is gonna immediately get planted over towards B. Attach gonna be the play to try to slow it down.
They're gonna have to plant this quick. I mean, Attach, can he make his way through the setup? No, he's gonna have to go through Scrappy in order to get to the bomb. Afro quickly called upon. Feels like every single round has come down to a 1v3, and now it is time for good old Marcus to throw his hat in the ring. What has he got in store for us? Does he have a clutch? Does he have an impactful round to provide us with? A big moment right now for the squad. Goes off the sound cue, not able to find it. Toronto adapts. They get really 2 players in either lane, making sure things are clear. They rotate that bomb, and it is curtains from that point on. Nobody able to rush through the Toronto trio.
It all comes on the first blood. Like Cammy, he hit the same exact play their very first defensive round and is able to find 3. This time Insight is able to spot him with the sniper. Cammy plays it super aggressive. Once you use those tacticals to the best of your ability, stun connects, you find that first kill, and then you slowly start to work up towards the opposite site. As Minnesota had to change their setup around, Toronto Ultra are able to take that one with ease. Now 2-2.
We've been seeing a lot of action toward the outside. The reason for that change is just because of the way the LSULO works. Like, if you don't have dead silence, it just feels like you are in a world of trouble. This has been Standy's play so far. Constantly just looking over toward the office, looking over at money. The bomb does get planted quickly there for Røkkr, so an instant job to do if you're Toronto, and the only player past that 50-yard line is going to be Standy. Gives out the sound cue. Rest of the teammates now begin to converge. Tosses out the stun for information. If you look at those really outlines, a few players that are out of the play. Time continues to tick. Nobody has fallen. However, Afro ends up taking down a teammate in the process, so a trade that ultimately favors Toronto. And Standy puts another away. Attached. It is all on to him, and that bomb is in the middle of being defused. Great coordination again there for Ultra.
That was just beautiful patience right there. They were like, all right, you can plant that bomb out there. We're not going to be really worried about it. But then they were just checking out every single corner. Once Standy pushes up towards top money and realizes no one's going to be sitting top their spawn, they have to be double stacking the site. You eliminate both of those players, you can just instantly defuse. If Standy was going to work towards that flank and towards bottom pool, finds that kill win. Just a beautiful retake right there from Ultra to play it super patient. Now up 3-2.
I believe that's 3 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
I want to say as well for Toronto. You see everybody on streaks. Insight and Scrap on 3. Standy at 2 in a row. See what they have cooked up for us next. It just feels like it's going to be a battle all the way to the end of this S&D, man. Like, we got franchises that have just seen so much success, players that have been at the top of those S&D leaderboards for years. We'll see if Toronto can maybe pull a fast one versus their longtime rivals in Røkkr. Is it Scrappy looking for the long-range shot? Cammy eager to pull up the sniper. He put that one to good use. However, it's Insight on the other side, who ends up dropping Bance. A much-needed reply, but it's going to have to be the pistol Scrappy and KiSMET with great team fire end up dropping the second kill. It is snipers in more ways than one, causing problems for Røkkr off the rip. And the least attached makes things a little easier, but only for a moment. Insight again, problem to deal with. And Afro seized and conquered. And maybe gets juked out, maybe ankle's broken a little bit there.
Just another patient round right there from Ultra. Once Scrap finds himself towards top radio tower, he was able to spot 2 players in the top of the opponent's base. That's what sets up Insight to pre-aim towards the window, finds that first blood. And unfortunately, Cammy gets that hit marker onto Standy. And he gets taken down. I thought once Attach was able to find that first kill, 3v2, Bomb's gonna be down, but then Insight hits him with another snipe, makes it a 3v1. And then just finds that final kill, sitting at 8-2 on a 5 spree. 1 more kill, so he earns that airstrike.
And if you're Røkkr, I mean, that's gotta be one of the many things you're trying to prioritize right now. Afro getting in a fight nice and early, but it's KiSMET who's able to strike first. Bance out of the picture. It's one of your main SMGs who is gonna be hunting early throughout the warehouse.
Bomb is gonna be down too. So much information KiSMET is just able to gather. Just play this super patient. I think potentially we might have a magic door. Nope, not able to spot him, but Scrap is able to work his way towards the top, finds that kill onto Cammy. KiSMET finds the third. Now it's all left up to Attach. Great at clutch and in search and destroy, but 1v4 is never easy. And Toronto Ultra, 5 straight rounds in this search and destroy is now going to put them at game point.
What do you feel like has been the most impressive thing? Like
First bloods.
First bloods, that's it?
Yeah, because Minnesota, they tend to struggle when they're in a man disadvantage. In the 3v4s, at that point, you're all slowing down. You're trying to at least even up the numbers, but when Toronto's not giving you anything to work with, now you're forced to be the playmaker. And when that happens, they are ready for the gunfight at any given moment. And they are just picking them apart one by one. Minnesota need an answer.
Yeah, they do. And you talk about the first blood conversation. Well, whenever they're trying to go for those first bloods, it feels like they're getting sniped constantly, or it's Insight stunning you and pistol whipping you in the side. Røkkr released 5 rounds straight, and now we've got some streaks on the back of a few members for Toronto. Scrappy, aware of the instant position. He's lost one of his teammates, but see if that can be something to get Røkkr back in this game. Standy goes bye-bye. But it is your 2 guys who have been very, very solid so far throughout this S&D, and Insight and Scrappy left. See if this new duo, this new tandem together can pull off something special.
50 seconds. No dead silence for Scrap. He's gonna push his way in towards bottom mid. He's trying to play for a couple players who are playing towards this A site. You see where Insight is doing. He pops that dead silence. He's gonna be able to take control of radio tower. Just there's only 30 seconds left on the clock. You have to eventually pick up this bomb, at least find a couple kills, and get the bomb planted. They're just trying to work this flank. Taking your sweet time is going to be Scrap. The death silence is about to come in.
Steady popped. Here they go. Both members on the prowl. Early engagement's going to mean everything. First blood in terms of this fight is going to be gained. Scrappy, eager, has to go searching, has to go hunting. He's able to drop another. Afro tagged up, but can't be killed through the wall. Røkkr are able to close it out, and a lot of it comes down to, man, it just feels like they waited a little too long. They were waiting for that dead silence, which is understandable, but if one of you falls, the round is instantly over. Minnesota with numbers, and called it again, my friend. First blood. I know they technically found the second blood as well, but still, all about the early game. Røkkr will finally be able to end that 5-round-in-a-row streak. Down 5-3. We'll see what they can provide us with, but problem being, they've got a streak to worry about.
Yeah, if you have a streak to worry about, it's looking like this bomb is definitely going to go over towards that A site. I would like to see Minnesota do exactly what they did in the previous attacking round, was just instantly getting that bomb down towards A. They ended up getting 4v4 retook. And slowly the bomb is going to start approaching towards this B site. You just got to keep in mind that airstrike can come in, but Afro is able to find that first blood.
Oh wow, it's Scrappy, just a few pixels to shoot at. Makes quick work of Cammy. Meanwhile, it's Standy as well. Finding one over to attach Afro and Bance. Huddling inside of the garage. They've got Toronto players looming everywhere. Scrappy with no daddy. He's got to take his time. He can't reveal his position. Afro, who's going to win the fight? Who's going to win the fight? It's Afro to remain true. Insight cannot take him down with the pistol. Standy able to line one up, and Toronto line him up and knock him down. They conquer their way through the bomb site and win 6 of our last 7 rounds. Now up 2-0 in this bad boy.
That final round, what a route right there from Standy. He works his way all the way around the flank, takes control of green, knowing that there's no pressure going over towards that A site. Once he gets in that position, his teammates already have control of back cliff. So they're holding strong on that end. But once Standy finds that second kill, now you know that the last 2 players are going to be trapped in towards that B site. And when you pay attention to that first blood column, it's 5-4. It was very, very close, but every time Minnesota got a first blood, there was always an immediate response from Ultra to at least make it a 3v3. They just played so patient, did not give Minnesota anything easy to go with on the map. And Ultra, told you, man, most complete team, dominating the search and destroys.
And again, there's still a game 3 to come, but it really does feel like that was Minnesota's lifeline.
What?
Like it feels like that was their opportunity to get back in this series where they lose that search and destroy on top of the hard point, and now we've got that aBeZy control, which, if mine serves me right, was a very interesting map whenever we saw these teams play back in Major 1 qualifiers. Why was that?
Went all the way to around number 5.
That's right.
All the way to around number 5, and I'm pretty sure it was Minnesota on the attacking round. They were able to capture that A point with about 11 seconds left, extend that time by a minute. Then they get all the way to B, and they were able to get on that clock and stop it at about 15 seconds, get the stack in, and close it out. It was a phenomenal time the last time they played around, but just the way that Toronto Ultra have been looking so far in this series, Minnesota need to bring some different fire.
Yeah, they absolutely have to. The man who did that, by the way, was Cammy. Can he be the difference? We'll have to find out. Can he be the Minnesota Miracle Man? We'll have to find out when we come back after the break. We're headed to Game 3 on aBeZy control. Stay with us.
Yeah, let's go, baby. Yeah, let's run.
world, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back here to Major 1. It is day number 2, and we're in the midst of a great little battle going on between two teams who are quite familiar with themselves, the Battle of the North. But Jay, we gotta talk about something, man. Take a look at this guy in Scrappy. First match on the main stage. He's not just getting hype in this match, but he's getting hype all weekend long, man.
Brother, this guy reminds me of me back in the day, because I always smack talked against everyone that I played, and you see the tweet popping up, Scrap is giving the Scrappy new energy in here for LOL. Love that coming in from Sir Andre Forever.
Like the profile.
He definitely is doing that, man. When this guy's playing with that much confidence the way that he is, you know what it does to the team. It just hypes up the squad. You get every single player to step up, and when he's leading the pack as a rookie, that's gotta be so scary.
He's literally doing research in different languages, preparing for teams.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
That is wild.
He called them a little bit of poo-poo, and he said, I'm your father.
I'm your daddy.
He said, yo soy tu papá. That's what he told them.
I like when
in that series versus PaulEhx. That, like, let me tell you, if you can transition your languages in Smack Talk, like, you are a premium guy.
Oh my goodness, you take a look at those KDs there for Senor Scrappy. And I think what you told me coming into this, like, control KD?
Yeah, he's number 1.
It's a little bit more worrisome if you're Røkkr.
He's number 1 overall, 1.35. And that's scary to deal with, because when you're allowing this guy to just consistently slay you out, you have to be able to shut that guy down. And just right now, no momentum on the side of Minnesota. They're far from out of this series. They're currently undefeated going into this control. 3-1 on the opposite side for Ultra. The only loss that Ultra received was versus Minnesota all the way in around number 5. So now if you're Minnesota, what you need to do is just make sure you're holding strong on your defenses. If you go clean 4 dead, you're gonna spawn all the way across the map. You cannot allow that to happen, or the series is gonna be done.
Who's the guy? Who's the guy to do it for Røkkr? I mean, if you're looking at somebody, I know it's not a one-player effort, but if it's somebody to lead the way, to top the scoreboard, to make the influential capture or defensive play, whatever it may be, who do you feel like it has to be lead by example for Minnesota?
It has to be Bance for me.
Bance,
this is the guy who's the playmaker for this Røkkr squad. We know what the Afro is going to do. He's always going to put himself in a position to be that slaying SMG. But if Bance can hit his routes, play like a rat in some corners, just simply play his life and hold down power positions, he's going to be the guy that I'm looking at.
Okay. Bance the player to look out for Røkkr, as they will start things off here on the attacking end, beginning and staring up at that, well, big hill to follow, down 0-2. LCL control, I'll tell you what, man, I mean, it feels like we're seeing more offensive victories here and there. Last year it was all about the defense. This year, a little bit different. Quite a few picks early on. Toronto seeing success in the early game. Those first initial fights still favoring them. Røkkr, right now, struggling to get out of their base. And first job is deciding on, hey, which zone do we want to go to? Feels like all the arrows beginning to focus in toward A. The only player that sits in their sights right now is KiSMET, causing havoc as they run there.
He's just staying alive. He's just finessing around the map, just wasting time off of that clock. Afro finds that kill onto Standy, so at least able to stop the time for now. Slowly just trying to finesse KiSMET. Eventually it finds him, takes him down, and nothing to show so far for Minnesota. You have to get out of your spawn. Big kill coming in from Bance. Now you have a little bit of radio tower control. Start putting pressure on towards that.
KiSMET causing problems again for Minnesota, and now Standy's the one to hit the flank. They have no idea that he's here. Afro, the sole man in the point, has attached there for a bit of cover fire, so you're able to stop the point, stop the clock for the moment. 13 and some change. Røkkr battling a few players off of spawn. We'll see if Toronto looks to make a late hit. Scrappy tosses out the utility, attach once more. There for the cover fire again. And Afro, really big job to do. Watch the front, just make sure nobody comes over toward you from the top side. It appears that the late hit is in here for Ultra. Last few players alive inside of the objective will look to lock things down. Maybe not. Maybe not. Here comes Scrappy. Can he close it out? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Dies by the nade, but Bance is here for the buzzer beater. Comes out clutch for the roster, and really Jay didn't do anything for the fight. He just happened to be the only guy off spawn.
So now if you're Toronto, you have to hold strong at this B point. Bance is able to finesse his way. Unfortunately, the trade is going to be there from Scrap. But just right now, a lot more map control on the side of Toronto Ultra. In sight, in that positioning towards top green. He's going to force all of Minnesota to start to overextend, try to push the courtyard, try to work around that flank, and Ultra are ready for it. KiSMET can play it towards bottom middle, at least find one before the trade is in. just keep in mind, as long as they're controlling green, they will consistently spawn over towards Cliff. Makes it a little bit more easier to defend this B site.
And it's all about, right, that 3, that 4 down.
Ooh, good
Bance,
shots.
Great long-range shots with the Baznev. Talk about an uphill battle, but you just took down a player who's at the top of the hill. Afro with a great opener, focusing on the spawns, trying to eliminate a few members off of that quick rotation. Minnesota locking down the seconds. And it's gonna have to be Bance, who again comes out clutch on the force spree, and here they come. The stack is in, they can capture this fast. Toronto, they've got to do something, they've got some utility. Do they have the time? Here comes Kleenex, but not gonna happen. Røkkr come out hot in the opening attack, and it is all about Bance in round 1.
That's the same exact thing that they did the last time that they played this map. The only difference is it was in the round number 5. They get on that A point with about 12 seconds left. Able to close that out, and then they only have a minute to work with. They completely disregard the play that's in green. You push it through middle. Bance finds that initial kill. And then you see he doesn't give up that positioning. He knows that once he finds that kill towards 10, they are now going to spawn all the way towards the left side. He finds a spawn kill. He allows his teammates to get out of the base. Their last focus was the player on the green, and they clutch up on the attack.
Yeah, just instant awareness of the spawns, and that's really what makes Bance such a valuable asset to any team that he's on, whether it's Toronto previously or Minnesota now. Great awareness from him. They will look to try to bring that momentum now here into round number 2. Now on the defense goes Røkkr, Toronto on the attack. And Afro, it just feels like he can be the player that caused lots of problems inside of the warehouse. However, Toronto off to a nice start. Danny dodges the fight somehow. 3 lives, goes for the chow. Cammy eventually does shut him down. A lot of presence here for Toronto early. They've got 2.5 captures. And in the meanwhile, given those spawns, they're over at the top side of the map. It's Scrappy trying to lead the charge, take a few players on the rotation.
Oh, now this is going to get scary, because you have to at least take him down from this position. They're trying to attack over towards B. Kleenex is going to get traded by Afro. So now, if you are Toronto, you have to slow this one down. You have to wrap back over towards that A point. Even though Scrappy's doing a great job of just staying alive on this side of the map, trades are going to be abound. Insight now, player pushing up through field. As Standy finds one through bottom middle, Standy's going to be able to stop that clock by hopping on that A point. Should be allowing Insight to slowly try to get more better positioning over towards this field side.
Yeah, really, as long as he's here, it's just going to consistently distract the Minnesota Røkkr, and they may try to just shock this one, maybe just send one last player to go for a chow. It's going to be attached. If you win it, great. If not, not the biggest deal in the world, but Afro on that rotation, able to cause some problems as he drops yet again another lovely little double on the head of Toronto, and maybe a triple. Nope, not going to happen this time. 15 seconds to go. Toronto a decision to make, and it looks like that decision very well may be made for them. Insight literally just ran past the player. Toronto still looming, or excuse me, Minnesota rather, still looming, hanging out toward A. Toronto get it regardless. 2 players off the spawn. They're able to stack, and they add an extra minute to the clock.
Extra minutes of the clock, and Standy and Kleenex are able to find 2. Fortunately, Inset does drop. And Attach currently sitting at top AC finds another one, so you cannot play for these spawn kills if you're Standy. Try to hold this bottom middle, find that initial kill, allow your teammates to eventually try to push up through bottom mid. It's only 45 seconds to work with. Standy just ran out of that dead silence, and Attach is still holding strong with that tag.
Trying to find a little bit of a gap in the setup, but Røkkr hold true. In fact, if you take a look at the top right of your screen, there is one player who has managed to slip the net. Just behind enemy lines right now is Scrappy. Bance is able to clear the way. You see that indicator on the top of the screen. 4 lives now make it 3 left for Toronto. Only 3 segments to their name. And as they continue to get whittled away, it will be a round here for Minnesota. Clawing it back. Got that momentum after that opening attacking round, and they bring it here to the defense as well.
Minnesota just clutched up right there. Like, I'm pretty sure it was about 12 seconds again at that A point. Cammy was able to go on in, find 3, shut down that pressure before he eventually does get traded. And then when they need to hold strong at that B point, you had the ARs ready and set up. Attach was able to win every single gunfight from top AC. They had control of green. They control all the entire left side of the map. and you force Minnesota to try to overextend, and Bance was ready for it. Minnesota, looking like a well-oiled machine on this Asilo.
Yeah, they look very well composed. Despite being down 0-2, they find themselves now up 2-0. And really, you're in uncharted territory if you're Toronto, right? I mean, they have literally gone on a 5-game control winning spree. A few of those 3-0s as well. So if you're Toronto, again, being down 0-2, maybe not a familiar spot for them. Regardless, Røkkr locking things down over at A. Cammy, in fact, has earned the spree, does fall at 6 in a row. So while he does fall, there's at least a little bit of purchase. Shout out to Ton for that one. Well, minute down. Not a whole lot of ticks to work with, Jay. What do you want to see him do here for Røkkr?
If you're Minnesota, let's just go get that 8-point done and dusted. Close that one out, or at least try to find an initial 2-piece to open up one of these points. It's looking like it's going to fall into the hands of Afro. With the flank, finds that first kill on the inside. Great shots, not able to pick up the kill on the Sandy, but he sets up Bance. Unfortunately, Bance is the only player in that position, so 35 seconds left, nothing to show for it. You have to hop on that point, at least complete some segments.
Let's make it work for it at the very least. It's actually just feels like they're consistently evaluating the flank. And while Toronto, Minnesota, they've been able to find a few kills in the flank. It just hasn't amounted to anything. Finally, they will be able to halt that time from moving. 22 seconds. Pause for the moment, but Afro, he gets made quick work of. Well, Toronto, you were down 2-0. We needed to see some sort of life, a bit of a reply. And so far, it has been exactly that. Every single player from Minnesota was huddled inside of that white building. Maybe a last-ditch effort to try to get to the objective. Scrappy there to clean house for another. And that time will whittle away. Granted, you're down, but Toronto, best reply that you could have had.
Yeah, that was a very strong defensive round right there from Toronto. Especially not to allow any segments, which is now going to put them down by 3. Obviously, they need to win this next round to force that round number 5. But if they close out both points, they will guarantee themselves that defense.
You said down 3?
Down 3.
All right. It's definitely doable. I mean, there's no doubt.
I just think the way that you need to play this if you're Ultra is to make sure when you close out, when you attack towards that 8-point, they started off with a bunch of initial kills, but then they just completely disregarded it once they thought that they were going to get it for free. Cammy didn't give it up, but looks like pressure's going to be all out through the middle of the map. Afro at least finds the first. PaulEhx is able to find himself that airstrike. That could be crucial as we get towards the key part of this game.
Yeah, we'll see. Toronto, they tried their hand over at that A zone. And to no surprise, right? They're aware of the scoreline as well. Hey, we cap A, cool. Instantly off the rip. All we got to do is just capture one more, and we're in a good spot at the least. Well, Minnesota read it. They shut them down, and from there, it is Toronto back to the drawing board off a spawn. And oftentimes, it's going to be called upon to KiSMET to try to find a few of those early engagements. Well, he does get made quick work of. It at least sets his teammates up for the trade, and now called upon to Standy, the other SMG duo, to help try to set up a little bit of a lane. Only man in ear's distance of this right now is Afro. Toronto, they've got everybody focused on this A zone.
Everyone focuses. Standy finds himself in a great position to take down the first and attach. Now he just has to be ready for the pinch because you know Afro's going to strike. The trade does come in. The second tick is already here. Bance and Cammy, they combined for all 3, able to get him off of that point. You see the map control started going in favor of Minnesota. You push out green, you're going to consistently spawn them out towards back yellow. Bance, you just want to play your life here. At least try to stay alive as long as you can.
Oh, when Bance can start to go on a spree, that could be huge. You instantly see he looks toward his teammate screen, trying to give a few call-outs. Be aware of the positioning for Toronto. So well aware of the strategies that exist on the other side. And regardless of it, Ultra, they managed to get enough forces, enough reinforcements over at that A zone. Extra minute added on to the clock. And what could be the final minute and a half of this map. Toronto with still a lot of work to do. But they do have quite a few players established already toward that field.
Keep in mind, they still have an airstrike to work with. They already pushed up towards white trucks. Trying to take the player off top, they see that's a big kill. Cammy does find a trade. Bance is going to be the playmaker, slowly trying to work his way in towards back green. I don't know if Insight was able to pick up that sound cue. He's going to be ready for it. No, he's not. Bance stays alive in this position, and just with him being here, it's going to cause some problems. They're able to take him down. Only 50 seconds to work with if you're Ultra. Oh, going to try to open it up potentially with this airstrike.
See what they can do about it. Last-ditch effort, 40 seconds on the clock. Scrap trying to make the play. Tagged up, but not dropped as of yet. Trying to use those boxes to the best of his ability. Standing pump and dead silence. Desperately trying to get back in the fight. Get as many eyes on this spawn from Minnesota as you can. And Standy could be the player to make the play. He eventually does get fouled, but KiSMET able to drop one. Bance still being a nuisance around the garage side. That's one tick done. Can they reach the second? Very smart play from Insight to not just avoid the streak, but to also prioritize his life. He could be the difference maker now. Staying alive. That could maybe be the second one. KiSMET is there for the pickup. That's 2 down.
Still have the spawns right now if you're Minnesota, spawning all towards the back right cliff. Now it all falls into the hands of Standy. 12 seconds. Someone has to get on that point. 5 lives remaining for Ultra. They're able to stop that clock. The second tick is going to be in, but Bance is able to take down Scrap. Afro holds the iron up. He's able to take down Standy. That's going to be 3. Last player up is going to be Insight. And this is looking like a clean 3-0 from the Røkkr.
It's going to be a solid answer here from the Røkkr in control. Down 0-2 in the series, but they are not going anywhere. Compose as you'd like. And to be honest with you, buddy, this is what we expect from this Minnesota team. Well tenured, a lot of veterans on this roster. And they control, well, our game number 3. And also, end out the streak from Toronto. That was 5 games in a row going. They cut that mightily. And as you take a look at the scoreboard, what name maybe stands out the most to you?
It's definitely Bance, man. 25 and 22. He had multiple clutch plays. Every single time they needed to save that 8 point, it was Bance and Cammy combining every single time to slow them down. And then even when Ultra were able to close out that 8 point, they only had 1:30 to work with. Even though they didn't get control of green on the side of Minnesota, they just did a great job of just holding strong on the left side of the map. As long as you stay alive towards that BS&D building, you're consistently going to spawn all the way behind that cliff. Makes it a lot easier to break over towards that B point. You got players that are able to come off spawn and watch that flank. And they just had the perfect setup to close out this one in a 3-1. So now they stay alive a little longer in this series. I was expecting it to be in the search and destroy, but now we're going into an aBeZy hardpoint. If you are Røkkr, we know how impactful certain money hills can be. You have to make sure you put yourself in a great position for P3. Make sure you hit that early rotation. PD is also going to be a big one, but the biggest one has to be Kitchen. They cannot afford Ultra to find breaks as they did in that map number 1.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We'll take a look at the highlights here. A lot of this game number 3 came down to Toronto Minnesota walking away with that opening attack, and from there they end up seeing the success, putting the ball in their court as they claim our swing mode, and we call it swing for a reason. The opportunity for a reverse sweep is still in store, and as you called it, aBeZy hardpoint up next. Tell you what, man, I don't know how to call this. Like, I really don't. It feels like Toronto, they technically were the stronger team off the start, but when these two teams did play back at that Major 1 qualifier, I think it was an aBeZy hardpoint maybe that Toronto took, but Minnesota, they just feel like a team that catches steam later on in the series. I feel like they get a lot of confidence after that LSCLO control. How do you feel like this one goes? You think we had the chance to go 5? Or
I think we definitely
are you on the
have
Toronto
the
trade?
No, I think we definitely have the chance to go 5 because you never want to talk smack until the series is completely done,
true.
Especially when you're going up against a player like Attach, who's been around the rodeo once or twice. The guy knows what it's like to play on that main stage. The series is never done until it's done.
Well, if we were ever worried, if Toronto is worried, Standy just gave it a nice little lead.
Yeah, they don't look worried at
fine.
all.
He's feeling good. I'll tell you what, man, he played some great COD. Like, I know we got to give Minnesota props. They just won that control, but there were so many question marks on this kid right here. That, you know, is this the right pickup? Is this the right player to bring into the team? He has looked like not just one of the best players on this team, but maybe one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, man, it's scary because Standy of last year, he was very inconsistent for that Minnesota Røkkr last year. It's either he was putting up a 1.2 or he was probably dropping a 0.8 or 0.9. But so far with this new Ultra squad, ever since that meta change, he's been a completely different player. Pay attention to what Standy does on the minimap because he's the guy a majority of the times that flipped the spawn for Toronto Ultra. Makes it a lot easier when you're winning these rotations, especially when your SMG is playing with so much confidence. That young man on the screen in Cammy, he's been having himself one hell of a year. When we looked at this Minnesota Røkkr roster in the beginning, it was all on Cammy, at least for me. If Cammy can get to that point where he was Cammy of old. He was the Cammy of the Cold War season. This is where this team can be really dominant. We know how strong they're gonna be in Search and Destroy. The control was looking flawless. It all comes down to the slaying in hardpoint for this team.
Feels like it's kind of the same thing for really both teams. It is all about that hard point. And take a look at this battle. It's so weird to see these guys on either side of the stage, just given their history, both being AR players, but right now, so far in the series, you see Insight lead the way for the team. And a nice, you know, a chill 1.33 on the other side for Cammy, sporting that 1.09. Tell you what, man, I know we're talking about a lot of different players to look out for, but there's just so many moments throughout that control and aLLeY where I'm like, okay, Insight takes down Cammy. Is that a team kill? No, it's not actually. They're on either teams. It's weird still. It's a lot of adjustments, a lot of things to get used to. We talked about, like I said, the Toronto players, right? And Standing, it's his first time ever facing off against Minnesota for, at least on the main stage for the Toronto guys. How weird it has to be looking at the Ultra on the other end. But here we have it. Into the Embassy hardpoint we go. Toronto leading the way still at 2-1. But Røkkr have found a bit of momentum. Maybe a little bit of their moxie. And what has been one of the best rivalries in the entire CDL since its infancy. These two teams continue to duel, they continue to battle. And we'll see if this has got another legendary map in store for what has already been an incredible story between these two. As it's Toronto with the early time, but Minnesota with a great 3 down, make it 4 down to start.
And that's the spawn's already gonna flip. So now if you're Toronto Ultra, you do a great job of at least getting some time off of P1. But now your objective is to control the spawn towards back parking lot. You already see the route coming in from CleanX, trying to set up that pitch coming in from Kitchen. You're gonna slowly play it and try to hold this one down. Soldiers are able to get back on the time. Bance is able to take him right off, and final 15 seconds, it's all gonna be over towards that P2, and Cammy's gonna be the first one here.
Yep, Cammy spawned up, he's here. However, CleanX has been hitting the hottest flank, it feels like, for about, well, 5 minutes now. This is about a 1v1 that's getting ready to happen. Tosses out the nade, the Vaznev, maybe not in the more preferred spot, but this is a huge battle for spawns. Catches Cammy lacking, and with that being the case, Afro runs right through the door, shuts him down. It is Toronto with a few more players off the spawn quickly, but Afro! Oh, you gotta be kidding me! Puts him in the dirt. Goes clutch for the team when they have to win those kills. He wins out for the roster, and now they've got the more preferred positioning and a great little advantage going here at the parking lot.
Yeah, this is the best setup right now for Minnesota. You're gonna force all of Ultra to try to attack this from Orange. And that's another clean 4 dead. Now Ultra are still gonna spawn out towards back alley. They probably have to cut their losses here. We have to make sure we're rotating towards top AC, and it's none other than Bance. Unfortunately, cannot win that gunfight. But what a start to this hardpoint from Minnesota. A full 60 hold on this P2. It's gonna give them a comfortable lead to hit this next hill. Potentially find a couple breaks. They got a little bit to work with now.
Oh, and Afro, you can tell it. He's just feeling it. He's feeling it right now. Tagged up from either side. Maybe we can be a little bit of a distraction. However, not the case. A clean 4 down there for Ultra. That's exactly what you want to have, considering that that door was slammed straight in your face over at P2. No time to speak for. But now over at the ACs, all clear. Right now from the Ultra. Scrappy trying to have his impact in this game number 4, trying to put Minnesota to bed. He eventually falls. Minnesota on the prowl. 35 still to go.
35 still to go, but right now Toronto Ultra doing a great job of maintaining the spawn going into the next hill. Bance is staying alive through back alley. He's trying to time it to climb up towards the top. But eventually the break does come in for Minnesota. Trapping some great shots. Unfortunately, is not able to take them off for that time. So Minnesota are going to continue to get the remaining chunk time. Afro already on a 5 spree. Astro's in my Afro. He's frying to start this one off.
He is, man. This guy is feeling it. Wanting to deliver a dub for his teammates in a revenge type of match. Starting to go off. Heads into the office on the 5 spree. This next kill would be huge. Can he find the 6th? And you can see, man, Toronto, they've got 3 players. They've got 3 players who are just trying to limit this guy. A handful and a half as Afro eventually gets put to bed, and now Toronto can begin to seize a few of these seconds. A late break over at ACs now values this next hard point that much more for Ultra, and currently, Jay, they're cleared in house.
Yeah, Ultra holding strong right now, even though they did lose a couple gunfights. Insight just went massive to find that initial kill and stay alive. So this has been a great hold for Ultra to get themselves right back into this game. It looks like Minnesota is still going to put pressure on. You don't want to put too much because they're going over to a money hill. You have to make sure you get over towards Kitchen, and it's all going to fall into the hands of KiSMET. In the 2v1, he's not going to play in towards the point. He's going to play a nice little corner outside. Just going to wait for his teammates to try to assist him, but the break never comes in. Ultra take the lead.
It's really the SMG for Ultra that are here early. Bance will, he'll wipe away one of them. And it's Afro who takes care of the other. Great work. Coming in from Røkkr, we thought for a moment, maybe prioritizing that last hard point a little bit too much. However, able to make good on it. Now it could be Cammy to try to be one of the layers to cause some issues for Toronto off the spawn. But Minnesota here at the kitchen early. Surprisingly, it's a small hill, but you can grab quite a few points on it. Røkkr showing us exactly why that is the case. So far, man, it feels like this has been the guy on our screen 90% of the time, and for good reason. 16-7 right now from Afro. He is feeling himself. 17-7, a 4 spree, and now has put his team very much so in the lead as he cannot be taken down.
What a hold. What a hold from Minnesota to get themselves back into this game. Full 60 from Ultra at P3. Full 60 now at this P4 for Minnesota to now be up by almost 50 points. Great shots from Afro. He is not missing anything. He's trying to force this game 5 already, almost at 20 kills with the FastNev in hand. Having himself one hell of a map. But now we find ourselves on the second rotation of hard points. Insight and KiSMET are able to find 3. Now you have to stay alive if you're attached because now the spawns are going to get a little freaky. You're going to spawn over towards that middle tennis side, and Ultra just doing a great job of just soaking as much time as they can off P1.
Yeah, what you could see, I mean, Attach wants to definitely tag up a few players for the bottom side, but he's definitely trying to have a few members join it to try to get over toward top gas, get a little bit of something going, maybe even earn the time on top of it. Well, that doesn't happen. Currently, it is Toronto with those preferred spawns, doing a good job at really starting to get involved in the fights. And man, I'll tell you what, it's Standy starting to wake up. KiSMET doing the same. They've started to chip away at that advantage already.
Now this is where Ultra need to make the adjustments. Last time it was a full 60 hold coming in from Røkkr, but this time around, Scrap and Insider in a great position to at least hold the push coming in from Street. Hill was not gonna pop. Standy gonna be on it. Unfortunately, Standy was standing on top of the planet, so he gives up his life for free. And Cammy finds 3. He knows exactly where the last player is, but Insight plays it beautifully, finds that kill, and at least maintains a little bit of that map control. Even though his squad is not getting time, he's keeping them off of that point. 40 seconds still on the speed 2.
Oh, you feel so bad. Like, Bance just get on the objective, man, but he's got so many angles to watch. There's been at least 15 seconds that have gone to waste because he can't get anybody inside of the objective. I mean, at the very least, you're not giving it to Toronto, but you do want to hop on what is a money hill. When we talk about aBeZy, and they tossed out a big battle to win in Toronto, although at least clean it out for the moment. It is really all about this battle now toward the ACs. Røkkr with the preferred spawns. A bit of a slower game from Standy, trying to turn things around. Currently -7. What an impact it would be if he could be the man to find a few kills in a row. And there you have it. A few begin to fall. The last player alive is Afro. Maybe can set up his teammate for success, but it's not going to happen. Afro is a man on fire. Another 3 spree and a rotation 1 solely because of him.
That one's got to hurt right there for your Ultra. You find 3 kills off the rotation. The only player you got to take down is Afro, but he takes down 3 of your side. So now Minnesota are able to win this rotation battle. Bance, unfortunately, is going to get caught throwing that trophy. The pinch is going to be here. Afro can only take down 1. So the break comes in from Ultra. Final 30 seconds. They're in control of the next hill as well at PD. So Attach in towards the top is just going to take his time, at least try to leave some of that pressure on Old Hill.
You do see player number 4, player number 2, Scrappy and KiSMET. They do get wiped away, rather their teammates get wiped away, but it does generate them close spawns for new. So in some ways, you'll take that. If you're Toronto, you get wiped away the last 15 seconds of ult, that's cool. We got everybody hanging out now inside of the office. Maybe an early Christmas party at this point. And Attached to the top side, it felt like he was in the more advantageous spot. He eventually does get wiped away. Toronto given the advantage, and they will seize it. Afro trying to be the man to make the play. What can he do right now for Røkkr? Trying to beam toward the outside. He eventually gets dropped, and from there, Toronto will seize control. Let's step aside and in fact go to a listen with the Ultra Boys.
Get it. 3-door. Climb it up top, climb it up top.
I'm going to H1.
Give me a sec, Jerry.
H1, going
Help him
H2.
on top.
H2.
Might have hit the back. I have 3-door, by the way.
Could be H1.
Two 3-door. 2 H1. No, H1. H2.
H1.
Rotate us one.
Alright,
Alright, he's old.
We're looking for one. Looking for one, by the way.
Let's get it new. Let's get it new.
fucking
Just
step,
retake
right?
it
I think
new.
it's a new already.
Nice.
Nice.
Give me the ball.
Yeah.
Watch out, Toby. I'm playing your cap.
I did say, come on, boys.
Everyone stack time. Stack towards time.
One for mid-2.
They could already be
Mid-2,
street.
HD.
Okay. I can help you, like, I have a shoulder.
Top of this. Off hold.
Back
They
in.
be. What's going orange? What's going orange?
I have your cap.
They don't have trophies here. They're just gonna hit
Close
us.
Close
Touch
one.
it,
Laundry.
Are you dead?
Let's go,
Let's
go.
go.
Let's go,
I'm
Toby.
staying on there. I got tripping out.
Get there.
Push up right.
Nice. Get in. Get laundry. Get the first blood here. Come on.
I have all right, okay?
Confident, they're starting to feel good. It was really composure that eventually led to eruption. Let's now head it to the other side. Minnesota Røkkr in a big spot. Let's go to their comms now.
Laundry got me.
Laundry,
I'll
then on top.
Come back, one time now.
I've hit.
Wait, do back door. There's 2 spawn zig then. 2 spawn zig, 2 on hill.
Yeah, one's fucking god.
Yeah.
Red. Open the door.
Listen, we have to play this. They win at this.
No.
He's gone zig.
We need to contest 1 second. He's come back double on you.
Yeah, he's just out there. I can't go.
Could be palm on us probably.
You have to go.
Yeah, he's laundry.
Bro.
Gonna happen for them. Toronto erupting on the stage as they get their revenge. Taking down the Røkkr boys. We heard the comms. It felt like there was something going. It felt like they had a bit of momentum, but Toronto turns it up to a new gear, and they keep that winning streak alive. And that's gotta feel good if you're Toronto, Jay. That has gotta feel very, very sweet already.
You get your revenge. You get it the same way you lost the first time around. This time it's in your favor for the 3-1. I think the biggest turning point in the game, it was always a response from Røkkr. They dominated that P2 hard point. They also did a great job at AC, which is that P3, especially when Afro pops a 3-piece to break the setup from Ultra, but Ultra always had a response. That P4 was a money hill. They were able to basically hold that for 120 seconds. And once they find it off the second rotation, you have to at least rotate towards Kitchen, because that's the money hill. You cannot allow them to win that rotation while they just got a full 60 off the previous one. KiSMET puts himself in that position. They're able to hold that one down flawlessly and close out the hard point, 250 to 182. Toronto Ultra, telling you, man, ever since losing to this squad very first time, they haven't lost since. Really good series from them.
Yeah, very solid all the way around. And it's also impressive too, man. Like, you had Afro going on a spree, and they were able to limit him. Like, they were able, because of the rotations, as you said, that late P4 to P5, you could feel it. We went to the comms for the moment. Toronto, like, hey, we're starting to win a few kills. We're starting to find a few kills off rotation. And
that's the crazy thing, is that when we went into the comms for Toronto Ultra, it sounded like the Toronto Ultra of old.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't hear Scrappy yelling.
No.
Standy wasn't yelling. Everybody was calm, cool, and collected. They knew the game is not done. We have to execute this break onto Kitchen. They do just that. Get a clean 4-dead, spawn them all the way across the map, and then eventually hold it down to the team, man. That was a beautiful ending to that hard point.
it was indeed, man. It's like, everything's cool, confident. All right, we won. Okay, cool. No, you love to see it. They're from Toronto, and I tell you what, man. I mean, despite the loss, or rather the rough series that they had versus the Challenger team, ever since then, calm, cool, collected. Very, very impressive stuff there for Toronto. As we said, the Ultra Boys, they get their revenge. For now, they can call themselves the winners when we talk about the Battle of the North race. But now we send it over to the main stage. It is our boy Blaze, joined with Scrappy.
Thank you so much, Lando and Study. I'm here with Scrap. And, man, Scrap, when it comes down to your style, man, I think I kind of model my style after you. You fresh up here. Give it up for him and Toronto Ultra for coming away with the dub. And, last time y'all played these guys, they beat you 3-1, but you come back and you get your revenge. How did y'all get it done?
Well, the first series was a fluke, I'll tell you that right now. That shit should not have happened, but, it happened online, it's all good, so we're back here on land, and this is ours.
Hey, it seems like y'all's, and I love the confidence. How does it feel to be one of the newest members here of Toronto Ultra and playing with this squad and even playing with your duo there in Standy?
It feels great. I mean, I joined a really good team, and I couldn't ask for many more. A lot of like rookies join. They don't really have the best team, but you know, I joined one of the best teams. So we're coming for it all.
And you know, speaking of being the best, you take down a #1 seed. Should we consider you guys the team to beat for the rest of this tournament?
I would say for sure. I mean, people are getting smoked left and right. I'm just looking for some competition. I need someone to shoot back. I don't know.
Oh, he needs somebody to shoot back, okay? And I think that's a statement right there. But you got anything you want to say to the fans that's been supporting you here?
Yeah, the Ultra fans, you're the best. You support us through everything. I mean, I heard you guys even against the OpTic fans, and they got smoked, so it is what it is. But, you know, we're coming for it all.
Hey, they coming for it all, okay? That's going to do it for me and Scrap on the main stage. Chris, take it away.
Thank you so much, Blaze. And that is my new favorite player. Show us some love, Raleigh, especially for Scrappy's mom there in the front row, recording the interview. And even while he's talking smack, you can just see the joy of the whole family. Toronto calling out the rest of the competition, saying we need someone to shoot back. Ton, did it look that clean to you, though, watching upstairs?
Honestly, I think, you know, when you look towards map number 4, Minnesota Røkkr were shooting back, but it didn't seem to matter. The shots are there, of course, for Ultra, but the teamwork is the absolute prime of what their game is about. We were saying in the green room, okay, they're down by, what, like 10 or so kills, and still the game was so close.
They were in the lead.
Their rotations, their full 60s, their holds are so good. They are so well-rounded.
Let's take a look at one of the key moments in this series. We highlighted on the desk, Search and Destroy can help you win championships. Toronto, their search was clean. This is our Scump play of the game, aLLeY.
Yeah, and they were down, right? They were down when it came to the Search and Destroy, but the interesting thing about Toronto Ultra, again, is that you can never count them out, and we have to get on board with Scrap, the man of the hour in this 3v2, working on this crouch walk, right? He's gonna find the player in this corner, but he's gonna get taken down, so then it's left to Insight and Standy, and Standy says, well, I'll get them both for myself.
Yeah, and what we saw is like the issues that Røkkr were having there on that B push. Like Cammy gets picked out of the white building in the back, like he has to stay alive there, so they have some assistance so they can't get pinched. And then also throughout this, like Toronto just kind of capitalized on the mistakes that Røkkr was making. We've seen in both of the hard points, opportunities for Minnesota Røkkr to run away with it. And what happens? Kitchen on map number 1, Kitchen on map number 4. We've seen it each time this team, Toronto Ultra, is able to rally a full 60 towards the end, and they get that into the W, man. This team looks so strong across all the game modes. Still dominating.
Talking to all the casters, talking to all the analysts, it feels like Toronto Ultra, the team to beat here in Raleigh right now. The question is, how far can Minnesota Røkkr go? Because this is a squad, they made it to the top 8, but now you're facing elimination in that first round of the losers bracket.
I will have to say, when it comes to the Minnesota Røkkr, I remember the biggest question around was, can Afro continue to perform on land, whether it was nerves, whether it was non-liner situation? The answer is he can. The answer is that he absolutely
100%.
can. Afro has very much proved himself in the past 2 series Minnesota Røkkr has played. The issue now is the consistency. Can we consistently do that here? You're now down in the losers bracket. The pressure is through the roof when it comes to Minnesota Røkkr, who is supposed to be the first seed and the favorites heading into this event.
And we got one more matchup here on the main stage. We're going to see LA Thieves taking on the Seattle Surge. We're going to get a little preview of the action on Bravo on the other side of this commercial break. But why should people stay here in the venue? What's happening on that stage,
It's 2 champions from last year, 2 of our top 3 teams. It is going to be a banger. Sib is red hot on the other side of this break. It's going to be lit.
It's only day 2. Lock in. This is the Call of Duty League Major #1 for the 2023 season.